60 Minutes decides to do a piece on free speech in Germany. Right on. Cool. For once, you're relevant and you're right on time, 60 Minutes. JD just gave this speech. You probably didn't know it was going to be about that, but you hit the jackpot. You got the crazy Compact Magazine thing and what they're doing to this party, trying to shut it down because it's controversial. They went a different way.
That's a diplomatic way to put it.
As you know, an incredibly sympathetic profile of the crazy-ass German laws that criminalize free speech. It was obviously in support of them. There was a minimal amount of pushback, like the most mild milquetoast, like, well, gee, some critics might say this. And that was all we saw. Here, for example, was 60 Minutes doing like a ride-along with German prosecutors as they raided the home of some guy who had said something racist. He was getting arrested because he said something racist. But just in case you didn't know that, that's it. That's not unlawful in the United States. You can be a racist, you can be a bigot, you can be a sexist, you can be all the things. You can't make certain hiring and firing decisions based on those things, but you being a bad person is not illegal, right? Anyway, here they talked to the German prosecutor, and was the questioning like, what business do you have criminalizing the thoughts of your citizenry? That's not how it went, Sot 4.
What's the typical reaction when the police show up at somebody's door and they say, hey, we believe you wrote this on the internet?
They say, in Germany we say, das wird man wohl doch mal sagen dürfen. So we are here with crimes of talking, posting on internet, and the people are surprised that this is really illegal to post these kind of words.
They don't think it was illegal?
No, they don't think it was illegal. And they say, no, that's my free speech. And we say, no, yeah, free speech as well, but it is also has its limits.
It has its limits. And Michael, the way they styled the whole piece with Sharon Alfonsi at the top, and she was the interviewer there, was civility has its, free speech has its limits because civility. That's what we're looking for. Actually, we have that. I'll let you hear it, and then I'll give you the floor. Watch.
In the United States, most of what anyone says, sends, or streams online, even if it's hate-filled or toxic, is protected by the First Amendment as free speech. But Germany is trying to bring some civility to the World Wide Web by policing it in a way most Americans could never imagine. German authorities have started prosecuting online trolls. It's 6:01 on a Tuesday morning, and we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany. Inside, 6 armed officers searched the suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. Prosecutors say those electronics may have been used to commit a crime. The crime, posting a racist cartoon online.
Go ahead, Michael. Your thoughts.
I love the appetite that you saw from the interviewer here. Oh, they didn't know that it was illegal, really. And then you showed up and you got them. If only we could bring these great ideas. She's obviously eager, like so much of the left, to import this kind of European police state into America to go after the dastardly online trolls who in any way question, in a just way or an unjust way, the liberal hegemony over our political order. And you can tell there's been a push for many years in America from the left for this, and the American people have rejected that, most notably in November when they voted with the popular vote to elect Trump and the Republicans. But you see the Germans doubling down on this. At that Munich Security Conference that J.D. Vance spoke at, you had the president of Germany come out and say that he will not allow social media to subvert his democracy. And it forces you to ask the question, what does he think the word democracy means? I'm not the first to make this observation, but when liberals constantly invoke this term democracy, I don't think it really means what they think it means, or at least what we think it means, because they've been arguing for years now that when Americans elect Donald Trump, that's a threat to democracy. Of course, by definition, that just is democracy when the people vote for someone. Or when the Hungarians elect Viktor Orban, that's a threat to democracy. When the Italians elect Giorgia Meloni, Somehow that's a threat to democracy. When the Brits vote for the Brexit because they don't want mass migration coming in anymore, they want a more accountable government, somehow that's a threat to democracy. It's quite clear that what these people mean by democracy is really just liberalism or leftism or this extreme political ideology that ironically now shuts out most of their constituents. That is, ironically, totally opposed to the democracy. And so when democracy prevails in America and most people say, we don't want this nonsense, we want Trump, we want Vance, and we want to see that in the rest of our civilization as well. This is really shocking because you can see, especially in Germany, how practically this kind of leftism has been implemented in their political order. And so if the U.S. comes in and says, hey, we've been underwriting all of this for many decades, you have betrayed our shared Western values, and we are not going to underwrite this anymore. And by the way, he who pays the piper calls the tune, so get with the program. It's no surprise that there were many tears at the Munich Security Conference after Vice President Vance spoke.
Yes, there was an actual minister over there who was crying. There's no crying in politics. What are you doing? Get it together. That's what. Okay, we'll get back to that in a second. Let me stick with CBS. Now, here, first of all, she's weirdly smiling, Sharon Alfonsi, throughout the whole thing. She clearly is enjoying it. She's clearly like, oh my God, I'm home. I didn't realize, Alfonsi sounds Italian, but she's lining up more with the Germans in this particular piece. And here she is all agog. She's just absolutely loving the new information she's getting as they show her the big red folders full of criminals.
How many cases are you working on at any time?
In our unit, we have about 3,500 cases per year.
9 investigators work out of this office in a converted courthouse. Lau says they get hundreds of tips a month from police, watchdog groups, and victims.
You must see a lot of crazy stuff.
Yes.
The worst of the internet is wrapped in red case folders, stuffed with printouts of online slurs, threats, and hate.
This is a criminal offense. So.
What does that say?
Kletterpark for Flüchtlinge.
So they're suggesting that the refugee children play in the electrical wires. Okay.
In this case, the accused had to pay 3,750 euros.
Wow.
It's not a parking ticket.
Yeah, not a parking ticket.
No, it's not. Yeah, you really heard them. You fine them thousands of dollars and they go to jail. So fun. I just want to give you the contrast, okay? Because I grew up watching 60 Minutes. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to become a journalist. And this is the reason why. People like Mike Wallace, who understood when they were onto a controversial subject or a controversial person, there was a certain tone and strength that would be required in the exchange. Here's a memory.
What means dictatorship?
A dictator is somebody
The Chinese president.
forcibly, whether it's free press or free religion or free private enterprise, now you're beginning to come a little closer to that. You, Father, knows best. And if you get in the way of Father, Father will take care of you.
Imam President Sadat of Egypt, a devoutly religious man, a Muslim, says that what you are doing now is, quote, a disgrace to Islam. And he calls you, Imam, forgive me, his words, not mine, a lunatic.
What they hear, what I heard, was overtones of absolute...
Louis Farrakhan.
You were sticking it to the Jews once again.
That's how you do it. You unafraid. You have to be unafraid, and you go in there fearlessly and put it right to them. This is a crackdown on free speech. This is unfair. This is a violation of human rights. That's how we'd see it in my country. People are allowed to insult, offend, or criticize a government politician, a party. There's nothing illegal about it. How do you justify that morally, sir? Not, it certainly isn't a parking ticket they get,
But you take the Mike Wallace approach if your objective is to come to the truth. And you can do that either by attempting to be objective and neutral or by taking the opposing view, and playing the devil's advocate in a conversation. But that is not what the establishment media have been after here. It's certainly not what this CBS interview was after when it comes to Germany. She was not trying to come to the truth. She was trying to advocate a position, a radical position that most Europeans and most Americans would reject. But she's playing the partisan here, okay? This is partisan activism par excellence. And most Americans are going to look at that and say, this is horrifying. We don't want anything to do with it. But I think that also helps to explain why, for many of the establishment media outlets now, their ratings have collapsed. And for the establishment liberal politicians, their voter base have collapsed, and it's why Americans voted for an alternative.
We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point, as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and rising cost of living, and we could have a big problem. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898, get your free info kit on gold, and get a copy of the Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era, with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Just text my initials MK to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.